Thank you everybody for joining. I'm quite excited. It's Menlo Electric MENA region's first webinar session. Let me just introduce myself. My name is Marcel Combrink. I'm the General Manager looking after Menlo Electric MENA. I've been in this region for plus minus 6 years and joined Menlo Electric two to 3 months ago. I also just would like to let you know that you can do your chats and your questions in the chat box, but the Q&A session will be after the presentation. Next slide, please. So just a brief introduction about Menlo Electric. Menlo Electric is a company that covers 36 countries with plus minus 14 local hubs in all the regions. We are predominantly in Europe and then also South Africa, where we have 3 warehouse locations. And recently we opened up the Middle East and North Africa region, where we have 1 warehouse location in Dubai. Next slide, please. Insight into the way that we work. Distribution is always I won't say a complicated business model, but it's a business model that is very streamlined. And you take a box in, you put it in your warehouse, and then you sell the box again. So there's a lot of ways that we want to be different in the market, and that is before the sale and also after the sale. So one of those ways is our Menlo Solar Academy, where we offer free trainings to webinars in clients, and support them in any way to understand their needs for the solution that they require. We also are very open in sharing our information, our knowledge in regards with market trends, experiences that we had with our suppliers with their products, and also giving you guidance of what to choose for your specific solution. And then all of this, like I mentioned, can be done over a webinar. We can arrange a seminar. We can also come to your premises and also do a at-site training session. We've got our technical engineers and our technical team that is really of high quality, and they can present and support you in any way needed. Next slide, please. How do you reach us for support? Basically, for now, we have the support structure and the system set up for Europe. We are currently busy with implementing a technical team / support structure for the MENA region, but that would take, I would say, anything between 1 to 2 months to get set up. And after that, we will announce that that structure is available in our region. But please watch LinkedIn and Facebook, and we'll update you when that is available. Next slide, please. So what we're talking today is Deye inverters. We are looking at string inverters and the hybrid inverters together with energy storage. Just a company introduction of Deye. It's quite interesting. Deye started in 2000 as an air conditioning manufacturing company, and then got capital investment in 2003 of around $30 million, and started with Nimber Green Inverter Technologies, where they started to produce the first inverters. If you look at the timeline, in 2007, as I mentioned before, Nimbo Deye Inverter Technology was established. They produced the first split-phase hybrid inverter into the Chinese market. In 2020, they became the #1 residential hybrid inverter in the US, and also the #1 hybrid inverter in South Africa, with a market share of above 30%, which was quite impressive. Also in 2020, their accumulated shipments was in the range of 70,000 hybrid inverters. In 2021, They start expanding into other global markets, realizing that the high voltage residential and commercial solutions in 2022, and also in 2021, which was quite an accomplishment for them, was that the total shipment of hybrid inverters for that year was 70,000 pieces in total, where in 2022, the accumulated shipment was for the years were 70,000. In 2023, they entered into the European market, and this was quite unique. So they were focusing a lot outside the European market. They looked at Africa, South Africa, China, APAC region, and then eventually Southern America, and then they eventually entered into the Europe market, where a lot of the I would say the competitors focus on the Europe market, and then they bring the products down to Africa, Middle East, and the smaller countries. Next slide, please. Here we have a footprint of the offices and after-sales service centers. After-sales service centers, I think it's very, very important. I think there is a lot, if something happens and something needs to be replaced, you need to get it as quickly as possible to reduce downtime. They are quite well established. South Africa, Lebanon, Pakistan, India, Vietnam, Australia. They recently opened Poland, Germany, UK, and Spain. So that was added to that. And then, of course, the head office is in Ningbo, China. Next slide, please. So we're going to look at the product overview. We will start firstly with the string inverters. Basically, the string inverters, we will look only for now. I will give you a brief product overview of what's available from Deye. And then I'm going to just basically go into the string inverters, what's available in the UAE from our side. But also to let you know that in the future, there will be a more in-depth technical presentation about the string inverters and the unique features that they have. And they will explain that a bit more in detail. And then also more in the future, there will be a more in-depth technical webinar regarding hybrid and supporting the ESS solution. Next slide, please. So for Deye products, if we look at the string inverters, they've got single phase, three phase on the residential side. So the single phase is 2.5 to 6 kilowatt. The G04 is the series number. So that is the evolution of the product. So now it's in its fourth evolution. If you look at the three phase, the 4 to 12, it's in the sixth generation. And then 15 to 25, also three phase, it's in their fifth generation. If you go to the commercial side, inverters, they've got two lines. They've got 30 to 50 kilowatt, which is in the generation 4 series. And they now introduced the 60 to the 110 kilowatt. There's also, that was launched at Intersolar, the 136 kilowatt. But as soon as we get it for our regions, we will also inform you guys about that. Where Deye made their name is physically, sorry, just one back. Where Deye made their name was in the hybrid sector. They've got single phase, three phase. They've got single phase low voltage and three phase low voltage, which is dominated by them in the market. And then they've got three phase high voltage, which is also a really strong product. On the three phase, it goes from 3.6. On the single phase, it goes from 3.6 to 6 kilowatt for low voltage. And on the three phase low voltage, it goes from 5 kilowatt to 12 kilowatt. The three phase high voltage is from 6 to 50 kilowatt. Batteries, which we will also go into a bit of detail. Low voltage battery solution, 6.1 kilowatt hour. We'll also show you some pictures of how it looks. And then on the high voltage side, we've got the Boss G, which have the racks are 5.12 kilowatt hour at a voltage of 51 volts. Next slide, please. Residential on-grid products that are available from Menlo in this market is 10 to 20 kilowatt, which has 2 MPPTs and 2 inputs per MPPT. Then we also have the 30 to 50 kilowatt, which ranges from 2, 3, and 4 MPPTs. And then the big one, which is the 70 to 110 kilowatt, which reaches from 4 to 6 MPPTs. Now, if you look at the big 110 kilowatt, we know that the market are normally 12 or 10 MPPTs with 2 inputs. This inverter topology is a bit different. They've got 6 MPPTs with 4 inputs. So that means that the MPPT amperage is also higher than what the standard market focus is. And this is part that we will discuss more in details when we do our on-grid technical webinar with you guys. Next slide, please. Now, looking at Deye and the added value of Deye, firstly, it can cooperate with wind turbines, and that is not only for the hybrid inverters, that is also for the string inverters. It's got a wide MPPT range, starting at 120 to 1000 volts. It can generate AC power up to 110%, which is always good when sizing your system, to keep that in mind. LCD, the screens and buttons, I think there's in the market, there's a split. People love LCD screens with buttons, and then you get people that do not like them. But for on-site services, and if you want to see what that specific inverter does, it's always good to have a LCD screen. It also has zero export application, and also can support generator integration. It's small and light. I must actually put there small, light, and extremely robust. SPD type D, SPD is DC type and AC type 2. The logging system that we use, or the monitoring system, is SolarMan, which is a well-known monitoring system all over the world. DC oversizing, depending on temperatures, can be anything between 130 to 150%. Also be mindful that when you do your DC oversizing, please just give us a call to make sure that you do it, that it is acceptable. If we need to get special approval from Deye, we can do that and ask them to support us on that. But that would also be on where your location is, temperatures, and all of those relevant input scenarios. In this region, we offer Deye with 10-year warranty. That would be full range from residential to commercial string inverters and also hybrid inverters. Standard warranty in the market is 5 years, and with Deye, you get standard warranty for 10 years. Next slide, please. We're going into Deye hybrid solutions discussions, which is very interesting. Myself, I'm quite excited about when storage is involved. It just opens up a new spectrum, a new design phase into, and also you get very unique scenarios where you can implement these solutions. So yeah, let's go to the next slide, please. So looking at production versus consumption, there is not a lot on the load side, but your PV is generating a lot of power. So what does that mean? The green line at the bottom is the system tells the power that is available, please charge the batteries. If we go to the next slide, it is production versus consumption, but when the battery is full. So basically the green line is the battery, it stays on 0, but your consumption load, your grid load, when your battery is full, your system produces and the system gives back to the grid. If we go to the next slide, versus production versus consumption, it's basically when there's load, but the batteries are full, and also the grid, it's used for grid. So it's basically, yeah, Next slide, please. And then the full layout of how the energy storage works from in the morning till the evening, and it can give you an idea of how your adding storage to your system can make your uh, energy more stable in your house or in your workplace. Next slide, please. Now it's very interesting. There is multiple types of PV systems. There's on-grid systems, there's off-grid systems, and then there's grid-tied systems, which is not actually the perfect term, but we prefer to use the grid-tied system. So term internally with us. On-grid system works only with on-grid self-consumption, 20 to 30%, depending on the government. It's the most simplest installation. It's also the cheapest installation. If you go to off-grid you can use anywhere. You don't need any grid connection. It's a limited amount of energy based on what you can produce. Your battery also has limited life. There's no regulations, and it's literally basically a standalone system. So a grid-tied system is where you have a system that the grid is connected. You've got unlimited energy and PV. Your battery and your grid is your backup. Your self-consumption increases from 50 to 60%. It's much more expensive, much more complicated installation also. Then the next slide, which I think explains a hybrid solution, is a hybrid solution is where you look at a system that accommodates all three of this. So a lot of the competition have battery energy storage with their system connected to an inverter, and that system is connected to the grid. So when the grid switches off, the whole system switches off, or you only have a certain reduced amount of energy available to use. With Deye, it functions as a full off-grid system also. So the interaction is much more stable in your energy delivery, and you have also a much larger amount of energy available for use. Next slide, please. Why do we use hybrids? So hybrids is basically to increase self-consumption, emergency power supply, electricity trading, and time of day use. I would like to get time of day use is something that is working in certain areas where when you have a high tariff with your local energy provider, some countries it makes more sense there to charge the battery on the low tariff and then to discharge it in the high tariff than when you use the battery. So that's commonly used in countries like South Africa, where people have in peak hours, their tariffs are like 5-6 times higher than the standard low tariff price. And people realize that in they install battery solutions and use the battery during that peak time, it costs them less amount of money. Next slide, please. Inverter output symmetry. What is this about? So a lot of systems that you install from all the manufacturers, they are a balanced system. So what does it mean? So if you have a load of 5 kilowatt and you've got three phases, and those three phases deliver 1.6, 1.6, and 1.6 kilowatt, only one phase will go physically to the load. The other two phases will export to the grid, and then the system needs to import the balance of the 3.3 kilowatt to fulfill your load needs. In an unbalanced system, which is perfectly with Deye has unbalanced support, they can literally take 5 kilowatt from one phase and give it specifically to that load. There's not a lot of manufacturers that can do that. I think it's a handful of people that have that capability to do that. So when you look at the products that you've used in the past, I think have a look at this type of scenario and see what happens when it becomes unbalanced. Next slide, please. So AC coupled equals AC charger equals retrofit. This is basically when you have a grid-tied system or an on-grid system, and you feel like that you want to add storage solutions. Deye inverters support that. So what basically happens is Deye inverters, the on-grid system gets connected to the Deye inverter and becomes basically an AC coupled system. And with that system, it can either charge the batteries, discharge the batteries. So from the grid-tied inverter side, it will charge the batteries, but from the load side, it will be charged or discharged according to your needs. Next slide, please. On our daily hybrid systems, there's three types of systems that we share or that we can supply into the market. We've got low voltage hybrid system, we've got high voltage hybrid system, and a all-in-one system. The next slide will show us the low voltage hybrid system, which I will discuss a bit more in detail. Looking at this system, you have your standard single phase system, which is an inverter range from 3.6 to 6 kilowatt. The current transformer is included in the package, and the Wi-Fi logger is included in the package. On the battery side, you've got the low voltage battery system, 6.14 kilowatt hour. And for this, you can connect from 1 to 32 batteries onto this system. It is quite a very cost-effective system. It's a 48-volt system, and as we all know, 48-volt systems are more cost-effective than the high-voltage system. So if you take, for instance, countries like South Africa, this is a system that is commonly known, and it also sells quite a lot. Next slide, please. Now we go to the three-phase low voltage system. So the three-phase low voltage system has a inverter range from 5 to 12 kilowatt. It comes standard with current transformers and Wi-Fi log. The current transformers cables are 10 meters long. If you need longer cables, please make sure that you connect it to a smart meter. Do not extend the cables via joining them or something, because you will the measurements will totally be incorrect. So standard length of the cables for the CTs is 10 meters. On the other side, we have the same low voltage battery, which is 6.14 kilowatt hours, and you can use this battery from 1 to 32 batteries connected to one inverter. Next slide, please. Now, looking at the batteries, and just to explain to you guys in detail what the batteries can do. So if you look at the charge and discharge current that the manufacturer is asking, recommended, if you look at 60 amps and you have a nominal voltage of 51.2, the battery delivers 3 kilowatt. If you look at the maximum discharge of 100 amps, the battery can deliver 5.1 kilowatt. If you look at a peak of 150%, which is 2 minutes at 25 degrees. So guys, please be aware that we have to check on the temperatures in your local areas. If it goes above 25 degrees, that 2 minutes will automatically reduce. And that would be 7.7 kilowatt. And you need to also make sure that on that 7.7 kilowatt, you have the correct inverter connected to that, because the smaller inverters won't be able to support that. When we go to our next slide, we will look at the high voltage side of the battery solution. So it's three-phase high voltage. There's two nodes. There's 6 to 20, and then there is 30 to 50 kilowatt. Now we're looking at the 6 to 20 kilowatt. It also includes current transformers, and I just want to make the note that it's 10-meter cables. So please be aware that when you do your installation, please check that if you have a longer distance needed at that you need to buy a smart meter to support with it. On the battery side, it's a rackable battery system. You buy a rack and then the batteries just slide into the system, into the rack. It's a high voltage system. You have the minimum quantity for this to work is 4 due to the voltage, and the maximum is 12 units. At the bottom, we've got the control box, which is very, very important. So normally when you look at the stack, you'll have the control box at the top and then with the batteries below. The battery size is 5.12 kilowatt hours. And like I mentioned, you can install a maximum of 12 batteries. Next slide, please. Now we come to the bigger side of the inverters, and this is the market where, or this is the area where Deye, I would say, is quite unique because there's not a lot of people that has this type and this size of hybrid inverters. I've heard that another manufacturer is up to 30 kilowatt, but anything above that, we are definitely the leader for that. So this is a hybrid inverter, 3-phase, 30 to 50 kilowatt is the range that we offer. Again, current transformers included with Wi-Fi logger. The batteries is also the same, 4 to 12, but what's quite unique about this installation is that there's 2 battery inputs. So you can double up on the battery side, and you need one high control box to control the batteries from that. Next slide, please. Looking at the battery power output, if we take the basic 20 kilowatt, so 20 kilowatt, 37 amps, and if we look at the nominal voltage of 4 batteries, 8 batteries, and 12 batteries, so if we start with 4 batteries, we get a power output of 7.6 kilowatt. If we look at 8 batteries, which is 409.6 volts, that gives us 15.2 kilowatt. And if we look at 12 batteries, which is 614.4 volts, that gives us 22.7 kilowatt. Also, just to remember, from the 30 kilowatt upwards, you can multiply the batteries by 2. So it will increase your battery capacity. Next slide, please. Quite unique. I saw this unit in real life. It is very pretty, if I can put it that way. It is the all-in-one high voltage system. For the moment, what is available to us is 6 to 10 kilowatt, but we are aware that they go up to 20 kilowatt. The inverter is 3-phase. It comes standard with current transformers and Wi-Fi loggers. So if you start at the bottom right of the presentation, there's a high voltage base plate, which I feel is quite, we need to have it because it just makes the whole solution look complete. And then you've got your batteries, which are high voltage, 4.09 kilowatt hour each. And the minimum for this system to work is 2, and you can stack up to 6. And then right at the top, between the batteries and the hybrid inverter would be the control box. And that is the communication that will run between the batteries and the inverter. Next slide, please. On the left-hand side, we've got quite a nice picture of how it looks completely. So if we look at the top here, there is the inverter. Just below it, the thin part, that is the control box. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 battery modules and the base frame at the bottom. As I mentioned previously, it's a floor. I didn't actually mention it. It's a floor-mounted unit. And these are the ranges that are available. That would be 6 kilowatt, 8, 10, 12, 15, and 20 kilowatt. But from 12 to 20 kilowatt, we will let you guys know when it's available in our markets and give you all the updated data sheets for that also. Next slide, please. Backup limitations. So backup limitations is basically there's three areas that we look at. There is inverter power, power for each phase, and then battery power. So when you look on the inverter side, uh, inverter power is basically three phase and it's 5 to 50 kilowatt. There's no more solutions higher than 50 kilowatt. Power per phase is half of what the inverter power is. And then from the battery side, if you look at the low voltage side, the limitation there is that it can reach 7.6 kilowatt as a maximum. The battery power from a high voltage side for the 20 kilowatt system, for the 20 kilowatt inverter system, is 1.9 kilowatt per battery. And on the high voltage side, it's 2.5 kilowatt per battery. Next slide, please. Quite something unique to Deye is the unique genset input. So there's three scenarios, but you can only choose one. You can't do all three at the same time. First scenario, standard scenario, cooperating with a power generator. Second scenario, grid simulation, cooperation with grid-tied inverters, AC coupling, which we discussed in previous slides also. And then third scenario is a smart load, and I'll explain to you what the smart load is. Next slide, please. Now, this is cooperation with a power generator. So basically, there's a power generator that connects to the generator portal, and it makes the system very robust so that you will not run out of power. So Deye, the control system from Deye will control the generator when to start up and when to stop. You put your parameters in, and that would be basically your last source of energy. So you'll put solar as your first priority, batteries as your second priority, grid as your third priority, and then the generator would be the fourth priority. What I need to emphasize here is that the generator must have an automatic start-stop, because it needs to receive a signal from the Deye system to start the generator and to stop the generator. And it to be a three-phase generator. So three-phase with three-phase inverter. You can't take a three-phase inverter and put a single-phase generator just on it. It needs to be three-phase with three-phase. On the top right is just a single line diagram. Bottom right is just our monitoring system display panel that shows you how it looks. On the left, we've got a more detailed connection diagram. When we share the presentations with you, you can press the YouTube watch movie. It is takes you directly to Deye, and it can discuss more in detail with you this scenario. Next slide, please. Here we have basically an AC coupled system. We discussed it earlier on. We have a grid tied system, and you want to add energy storage to it. You can connect the grid tied system onto the generator connection portal on the Deye inverter, and it will manage your system perfectly. On the left hand side, it will also just give you an idea of how the screen display will look. And then on the right top, we have the YouTube video from Deye. If you get the presentation, just double click on it. It will pop up and it will show you the video for this specific scenario. Next slide, please. Here we've got smart load. So that same portal can be used for smart load, or as we call it in other countries, essential loads. So what basically happens is you can connect your system, and if there's a specific load that you want to give power to, you can connect that to the generator output side. So that would be anything for a AC, a machine that doesn't need to switch off or that needs power constantly. Normally you've got an essential DV where you've got your very essential loads, security cameras, servers, computers, charging points. Don't forget the cell phone charging points, and then like your fridges and that can also work. It's quite unique. The system needs to be set up like that, so you need to program the system that it's aware that it's a smart load. So please, when you do your commissioning or you do your setup of your systems, make sure that parameters are selected. And yeah, this is the smart load side. It can be, like I mentioned, it can be used via the generator connection point on the inverter, and will help you a lot. I do advise to also look at the YouTube video for this. I found it very, very interesting when they explained this, and it's very helpful. Next slide, please. Deye Service Center. Uh, we would like to share with you how and where to contact Deye. Uh, it's also, some people prefer to talk directly to the manufacturers. We advise to reach out to us first. We know exactly how the channels work and how we can support you. So, but if you feel you need to talk to them directly, this is the contact details for them. Next slide, please. Overlook on the hybrid systems and how it looks. On the left-hand side, we've got single-phase hybrid low voltage inverter with the Deye low voltage battery. Then next to it, we've got the three-phase low voltage inverter connected to exactly the same battery. Three-phase high voltage. So we've got two ranges there. We've got the 6 to 20 and we've got the 330 to 50. Then we've got pictures of how the racks look. So on the left-hand side, we've got an 8 battery rack, and on the right-hand side, we've got a 12 battery rack. And then last but not least, the golden boy, the all-in-one high voltage inverter system, three-phase, and it looks really good. Next slide, please. Now looking at Deye, what makes them unique, they've got quite a wide portfolio on the low voltage, high voltage, single phase and three-phase inverter. I think I don't think, I know that their strength is quite immense in this range. Their systems are extremely robust. If I just think about South Africa, we've got voltage fluctuations like crazy. We have load shedding 12 to 14 hours a day. People use generator integration seamlessly, and it's just a very hardcore system that really performs well. Uh, I did mention just now that it works well with power generators, and it can help you charge uh, a discharge battery. Please make sure that the generator has an automatic stop start so that it can receive a signal from the inverter side for the generator to start. Do not use the ones that you have to pull the cable, because they will not work. It can work with wind turbines, as I mentioned, on hybrid systems and grid-tied systems. It gives you quite a unique retrofit capability. You can use old systems that are on-grid systems and just physically add the battery side to the solution. It's an asymmetric production on grid, up to 50% per phase, 100% up to 1 minute. It allows parallel connections, which we did not discuss, but it gives you on the three-phase up to 10 inverters and on the single phase up to 16 inverters. And the best side of it all, it gives you a battery range capacity of 6.1 kilowatt hour up to 222 kilowatt hours. Next slide, please. And that is the end of my presentation. Please feel free to reach out to me on the first page. As soon as you receive the presentation, you'll have my email contact details. Any support, any explanation, any training that you guys need with Deye, we are fully capable and we do understand the product extremely well. I'm going to hand over to the Q&A session now, where my colleague will support you with this and answer all your questions. Thank you very, very much. Sorry, gentlemen. I would just like to add that if you have any questions that are not answered in this question session, and you didn't get the or you've got more questions, please send me an email. I will then relate it to our technical team and make sure that we reply to you as soon as possible. So I've seen we've received quite a lot of questions, so I'm just going to go through some of them with you and just read the response from our technical person. Deye supports only life uh, lithium-ion batteries, or it can work with any other technology. Deye can work with any other technology, just to make sure that the voltage is between 40 to 60 volts DC. There's also a list available of all the batteries that it can support. It's just a very long list, so we will be able to also share that with you. Question from Daisy Wong: how long time can 150% overload last? No time limit, but you need to be aware that when you connect 15 or 10 kilowatt inverter, example east-west system, Deye inverter will survive, but convert max power to 11 kilowatt. So that's 100% AC power. We have another question here in the chat that's not in the Q&A session. Can we control bulk charging absorption time for no connecting lithium batteries? Yeah, the batteries needs to be connected, so there needs to be some sort of communication that is received forwards and backwards with the batteries, so that the intelligent system can control the charging of that. There was a question. Let me just scroll down a bit. If we don't have BMS communication, oh, that's pertaining to the top question. So it means that if they don't have BMS, if we use LiFePO batteries without communication, we can't do nothing with the batteries. Batteries will just turn off. So basically, what they're saying is that a BMS is an integral part for the lithium side to function. For firmware update, please send this email to contact@dayeservices.com. How much unbalanced load three-phase low voltage support? Up to 50% per phase with no time limit, and up to 100% up for 1 minute. Then there's a question of 16 pieces of single phase parallel is for hybrid or for on-grid? And the reply was both. No, wait, sorry, I missed the reply. For hybrid. Uh, I'm just trying to see what else is there. Just for people to see my my email address, please take it down. We are really here to support you and make sure that when you install a Deye or you need guidance on how to support the Deye system, we are there to help. There's a question on for returning power to utility. We have to connect energy meter with hybrid system or no need? No, it's not necessary, but without smart meters, CT self-consumption increase mode might not work like you expected. So rather, you need to connect the measuring instrument. Then there was a question in off-grid inverters, what is the maximum output current? And I think we put it previously, it is physically 800 amps. If you take 10 pieces of 50 kilowatt. 50 kilowatt output current is 80 amps. Thank you, item. There was a question to have more information about monitoring and BMS system. We will definitely add that to uh, our training session. Thank you for that information. Much appreciated. We've got quite a unique question here also. Uh, is it possible to have, for example, 5 pieces of 50 kilowatt converters and only 1 or 2 pieces of them have battery banks connected to them? Can we have the backup? Can we have a backup output? Meaning, can they share the battery bank? No, you can't share battery banks between few inverters. There is no point because battery doesn't have only capacity but also power. Ahmed Nasser, you requested more information on the zero export and the timing of that. Please just send me an email and I'll get back to you on that. Uh, there's a question from Marwan on training in Iraq and Kurdistan. Marwan, we've got a representative in Iraq that lives in Iraq. Please just share with me on email and I'll get Shores to come visit you or give you a call. He's employed by MENA. He is responsible for the Iraq region. Is there any more questions? Anything more that you guys would like to ask in the chat? Please reach out to us. If you think about something later on, please feel free to contact me on my email. I will be available and reply to you or introduce you to the correct person that can support you. We have 1 minute left and then this session will physically end. I would just like to thank everybody for joining and also say good luck. We've got quite an interesting market dynamic going on at the moment with overload of stock in that in many regions. But please reach out to us. We can support you in more than one way, and we can make sure that also that whatever you supply to your clients or you design for your clients, we can make sure that we can overlook and support you on that. Thank you, Okla. Thank you, guys. Oh, one more point. Sorry. Tomorrow we have our the same webinar, but in Arabic. So please feel free to join, and the team there will present to you in the local language, and then we'll keep you up to date with the webinars after that. That will be focused on grid-tied systems, hybrid systems with battery supports, and now the third one that was added via you guys, the BMS and monitoring side of Deye, which I really also feel that that is important. So thank you very much for requesting that. Thank you, guys. We're going to close this webinar session now, and looking forward to seeing you in the future. Thank you. Keep well.